Hey guys, I'm Ashley and I'm here to talk to you about a few tips that I have on how to be a better yoga teacher. So here we go. My first tip for you today is when you're teaching, make sure and detail one thing at a time. So when you're teaching, sometimes you can get a little flustered and think there's so many things going on and so many things wrong with this person's body. Talk to the body, tell them what to do exactly instead of just saying get into such and such pose. A lot of people won't know the names of the poses. That's why I rarely teach the names of the poses. Instead, talk to the body, tell the foot where to go, tell the arm or the shoulder where it's supposed to be, and one thing at a time. And be specific, be clear. Our focus is to become master communicators and guide people through the safest class possible, right? The second tip I have, along with that detailing one thing at a time, is to stack your instructions. Stacking your instructions means starting from the ground up and instructing from starting with the feet or the base, wherever it maybe you're sitting. So maybe you're starting with the hips, starting from the ground up. So for me, that means talking, like if you're in a standing pose, you would talk about the feet first, saying ground down through the floor, soften the knees, engage the core, drop the shoulders, gaze is lifted, or just kind of going from the ground up. And that's not to say that the base of the pose starts at the feet. That's not always the foundation. The foundation of many of our poses actually our center of our pelvis region. But as for instructing, it's a little bit easier to start with the ground, especially as a new instructor, because it's easier to remember. Remember, oh, what should I be cueing? Oh, let's start at the ground and move our way up. And that way we set that base at the bottom and work our way up. Easy way to do it. The third tip I have for you today is to remember that different words mean different things to different people. Not everybody's going to get what you say. You might say the same phrase or the same thing like 20 times in the same way, but you still have people like doing the wrong thing. So you may either have to show them or explain it in a different way. So make sure you're using different words. If you find yourself using a word over and over and over again, go look in a thesaurus, maybe look online too, for some different words that mean the same thing. One word that I tend to use a lot is the word lengthen. So when you go inhale, lengthen. You could also use elongate, extend, get long. There's just so many words you could use instead. So make sure that you're looking into that and different phrases to make sure everybody understands what you're talking about. Tip number 4 is don't use the words I want you to. And it's not just I want you to, but it's also we're going to, or we're gonna, or let's, or on your next, like on your next inhale, on your next exhale. So using phrases like I want you to lift your leg, I want you to extend, I want to, it's just unnecessary. So when you're teaching a class, you should be commanding. You should tell them what to do. People want to be told what to do. That's what you're doing. You're guiding them through the class. It's not I want you to, because then it gives them a choice like, well, what if I don't want to? Not only that, but it's easier to follow along when you use less words. Yoga shouldn't really be a boot camp style class. You shouldn't be yelling at people, say, get down, give me this, and do that, blah, blah, blah. It should be commanding. It should be, your presence should be known that you are in charge. You are leading these people through a great class. And so concise master communication, remember that's all what yoga teaching is about, is becoming a master communicator and leaving out the excess words. You also might find yourself saying the word and a lot in between phrases, especially an extended and used as like an newer instructors, especially because you're trying to gather your thoughts. So that might just come with time, or just be aware and be mindful of what the words you're saying when you teach your class. And tip number 5 I have for you is don't take yourself too seriously. The saying is you have to show up and suck before you can show up and shine. So if you mess up, laugh about it, move on. No apologies necessary. No one cares if you messed up, and if they do, no big deal. Why are they even in your class? They know yoga is about practice. Even as a teacher, it's yoga practice. It's not perfect. It's not a performance. It is practice always and all the time. Also, when you come to class, bring your own personality. Me, I'm a bubbly, lighthearted type of person. And that's what I show in my classes. I don't go to class expecting it to be a serious, humdrum type thing. When I teach a class, I'm going to bring my own personality, and that's going to be the smiles, the giggles, the falling over. It's part of life. That's what I do. So bring your personality. Don't take yourself too seriously. and enjoy the process. The sixth tip I have for you today is not to get too creative. When you start to get nervous, you start to create these crazy sequences, or maybe you saw another teacher before in a different class do this crazy transition sequence thing that looked really cool, and if you did it, your class would be just as awesome. That's actually not the case. The truth of the matter is that your energy, your presence is what's going to bring a lot more to your class than any kind of flowy sequence or flowery mumbo jumbo. So if you bring your true authentic presence and your words of wisdom, your inspiration, the class, it could be a couple lunges, a couple sun salutations, and that's it. And as long as you are bringing your best and bringing your heart and soul into this class, I would say leave out the flowery stuff, leave out the tricky transitions unless you've practiced them diligently and you know your classes can do them. So getting too creative, unnecessary. There's also another great book which I read recently, and I should read again. It's called Theme Weaver. In here it says you can have the exact same class, exact same one. You can do the exact same simple sequence as long as you change up the theme or kind of like the words that you use. It can feel like a totally different experience. So play with it, practice that, or read Theme Weaver, really great book. The last tip I have for you is to challenge your students. Intensity adds focus, and people like to be challenged, so do it. When you have a class, if it's supposed to be just a gentle restorative flow, I understand. But if you're teaching a yoga class and or especially like a power or vinyasa flow, challenge the students, because intensity actually adds focus. And when you go less intense, the focus starts to wander everywhere. And I notice this with myself when I'm a pretty strong practitioner, and I have been to a couple classes that haven't been challenging enough, and I find myself thinking about random things all the time, like what's on my to-do list. Like I'll just be sitting there and I'll be like, is this all we got? Like I need a little bit more. And maybe it's just my age right now, or like I need something a little more vigorously challenging. But definitely if you can add some challenge, you'll get a lot more people lining up out the door if you do for your class. Some of our most popular classes, both at the yoga studio and the gym I'm at, are the most challenging. That's where we see the most people. It's because people like to be challenged. So when you teach to people, you don't want to teach down to them. You don't want to be teaching them something that they already know. You want to be teaching up, lifting them up, making them grow. People can't grow unless they're challenged. Not every class should be super powerful, but it should be challenging in some way or another. Along with having a challenging class, though, make sure you're always offering those modifications and intensifications. So offering different ways for people to use this pose in their own bodies today. If you believe in your students, then they will start believing in themselves. So go for it. So let's do a little recap, shall we? The first tip I gave you was to detail one thing at a time, being specific. The second tip I gave you was to stack your instructions. Easiest way to cue is from head to toe, from the bottom up, from the ground up. And the third tip I gave you was to mention that different words mean different things to different people. So make sure you're saying things differently at different times. The fourth tip was not to say "I want you to" or any of those mumbo jumbo phrases that don't mean anything or don't add anything to your classes. Tip number 5 was don't take yourself too seriously. It's okay to laugh once in a while. It's okay to fall down. Tip number 6, do not get too creative. Creativity sometimes is confusing. So leave out the creative sequences, flowery stuff, and be yourself. And the last tip I had was to challenge your students and to believe in them. So those are my yoga teacher training tips for you guys. If this was helpful, please click that little thumbs up button to share the love and show that this was helpful for you. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, don't make sure to either subscribe to my YouTube channel or add me to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and I will be making sure to keep making videos about things I love, such as teaching yoga. I have no plans to slow down, and these tips have helped me greatly throughout my training process and throughout my career so far. I hope to see you guys perhaps in a class sometime or in a training. Bye!